Your circle is not just the people sitting in your living room. Your circle is every voice you allow into your head, every book that you read, every podcast that you listen to, every online community you engage with, every mentor you follow from a distance, okay? You're already doing it right now by listening to this podcast, right? You're building that circle. You're choosing to surround yourself with growth oriented in thinking. And you're curating the inputs that shape your mindset, are going to shape how you're showing up each day, right? And that matters way more than you realize. Welcome to What If It All Goes Right, the show for high achievers who are ready to stop fearing the worst and start stepping into their power. I'm your host, Angela Gargano, 6-time American Ninja Warrior, keynote speaker, peak performance coach, and former biochemist. Every episode, I'm going to give you the mindset shifts and practical tools to shake off the doubt, reignite your energy, and remember just how powerful you really are. Because it's time to stop fearing the worst and start asking, what if it all goes right? What if it's already going right? Welcome back to What If It All Goes Right? I'm Angela Gargano, and last week we talked all about what happens when you start to outgrow your circle and the guilt and the grief and the loneliness that comes with evolving past the people who used to really feel like home for you. And at the end of that episode, I promised that we dive deep into the how to do actually that, like actually build the circle. And where do you even start? Where do you find your people when you don't even know where to look? So that's what we're going to cover today, are the 7 principles for building a circle that matches who you're becoming. And here's what I want you to understand right from the get-go, okay? Your circle is not just the people sitting in your living room, right? Your circle is every voice you allow into your head, every book that you read, every podcast that you listen to, every online community you engage with, every mentor you follow from a distance, okay? You're already doing it right now by listening to this podcast, right? You're building that circle. You're choosing to surround yourself with growth oriented in thinking. And you're curating the inputs that shape your mindset, are going to shape how you're showing up each day, right? And that matters way more than you realize. Because the truth is, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But in 2026, those 5 people don't have to live in your city, right? They don't even have to know that you exist. They just have to be the voices that you trust, the voices that challenge you, that inspire you, and the voices that call you forward. So today, I'm going to break down the 7 principles for building your circle on purpose. And we're covering how to curate your inputs, where to find the in-person people who match your energy, and how to recognize your people when you find them, and how to push through the discomfort of starting over, because it is going to feel weird, right? Being in that room for the first time with some new people. And if you're in that in-between season right now, if you've outgrown the old but haven't really found the new yet, if you're in that hallway in between, which is what I like to call it, this episode is going to be for you, okay? But before we jump in, hit follow on the What If It All Goes Right podcast, wherever you're listening to right now, please. And if this resonates, share it with someone who is also navigating this season, because finding your people is easier when you're not doing it alone. All right, Pepper, you ready? My dog's with me and she's just like, Angela, you are my circle. All right, let's talk about these 7 principles for building your circle on purpose, okay? The first principle for building your circle on purpose is this: redefine what your circle actually even means. Like, what does this even mean to you? So let's start by expanding on what we mean by when we say like your quote unquote circle. So again, most people think that their circle is their immediate friends and family, the people they see regularly, the ones they text, the ones they show up to their birthday parties, right? And yes, those people, they totally matter, but they're only a part of the equation, right? Because your circle is also the authors whose books sit on your nightstand, the podcasters whose voices fill you on your commute, like me. Hey. The online mentors who content you're consuming daily, maybe on Instagram, on TikTok, or whatever your platform is that you like to go on. The coaches, the speakers, and the thought leaders that you follow. And the communities you engage in with virtually as well. Maybe the courses or the masterminds that you invested in, right? These voices really shape your thinking. And they're going to influence your decision, whether you like it or not, right? They normalize the version of yourself that you are becoming. And in many ways, they're more influential than your in-person relationships sometimes, because you're choosing them intentionally. Like you're intentionally choosing what you're absorbing. And you're not around them by just like circumstance. You're curating based on alignment. So the shift is here, I want you to stop thinking of your circle as only the people who know your name, and start thinking of it as the voices you give permission to influence your life. Because every piece of content that you consume, every conversation that you engage in, every person that you follow, they're all part of your circle. And that circle is either lifting you up or it's pulling you down. And here's what this means for you. If you're listening to podcasts about growth, if you're reading books about confidence, following people who are doing what you're doing, you're already building your new circle. You're already surrounding yourself with the energy that matches where you are going. You don't have to wait until you have 5 new best friends to feel supported, right? You can feel supported right now by intentionally choosing the voices in your life. Your digital circle, it counts. And if it's the only circle you have right now, that is enough. That is enough. For me, it's my digital circle. I've got some friends, and I got my doggy. The second principle is audit your inputs like your life depends on it. Because the reality is most people are more intentional about what they eat than what they're consuming mentally and emotionally. And especially in an age right now where we can just like scroll on social media and like whatever comes up, it's easy to get that in our head, right? But for people, a lot of people, they'll meal prep, they'll track their macros, they'll read labels, and they'll scroll on Instagram for an hour without thinking twice. And then they'll binge watch reality TV that leaves them feeling drained. They'll listen to podcasts that reinforce some limiting beliefs or scarcity mindsets. And then they wonder why they can't move forward. Because your inputs, they're going to shape your identity. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to and engage with becomes the filter through which you see the world. So if you're consuming content that reinforces this struggle or your complaints or your victimhood, that's the lens that you're going to use. But if you're consuming content that reinforces possibility, that reinforces growth and action, that becomes your default. So for you, I have an assignment, okay? For the next 3 days, I want you to track everything that you consume, okay? What podcasts are you listening to? Keep listening to mine, I promise it's a positive one. What books are you reading? What shows are you watching? What social media accounts are you engaging with and consuming each day? What conversations are you having? And then ask yourself, does this lift me up or is this pulling me down? Does this actually align with who I'm becoming? Or is it aligning with who I used to be? Does this expand my thinking or does this keep me stuck? And if the answer is pulls down or who I used to be or keeps me stuck, I want you to right now just like unfollow, unsubscribe, and stop engaging. You don't have to engage with it. You have control of that. You do not owe anyone your attention, not even people that you followed for years. You really don't. And if you're nervous to unfollow them, just mute them. I've muted so many people. And here's the standard to hold. Treat your inputs like you treat your friendships. If a friend drained your energy, you would create distance, right? You should create distance. If a friend makes you feel bad about yourself, you set boundaries, right? Do the same with your content because your inputs shape your identity. So curate them as intentionally as you curate your friendships. What do we say? You ready to do it? Ready to do the thing? Unmute the people? Today is the day. The third principle, go where your future self already is, okay? Because while your digital circle is powerful, there's something irreplaceable about being face-to-face and getting connection and that energy from people. About having people who see you, who challenge you in real time, who show up for you in person. But the challenge is for a lot of people is you can't find your people in the same place that you used to hang out. So if you want to have different results, you need to go to different environments. So here's some places that you can look, okay? Classes and workshops. Sign up for things that interest you. Maybe it's fitness classes or workshops or cooking classes, professional development courses. There's so much out there right now that you can do and you can sign up for. You can even see what some of these people who you're looking up to have already done and go do that. And you'll meet people who are investing in themselves, which means they're already growth oriented. Gyms and studios with specific cultures, like not all gyms are created equal, right? You'll find one that has a community feel, you'll find the CrossFit boxes, the yoga studios, the running clubs. You'll find more of like those high-end gyms that you can go to. But the culture attracts people who value discipline, right? Commitment and growth. Co-working spaces, right? If you're an entrepreneur or you're a remote worker, co-working spaces are literal gold mines, right? You're going to find people and surround yourself with people who are building something, who understand the hustle and who get it. You can actually more easily find the people that you're looking for, like faster than you think. Masterminds and networking events, invest in paid mentorships or masterminds or industry-specific networks and events. The barrier to entry, the time, the money, the effort filters out the people who are actually serious about growth. When I wanted to go into keynote speaking, I invested in myself. I got into a speaking room and yes, I didn't know anybody and I was freaking out, but it accelerated my progress so much faster. Book clubs and discussion groups, right? Start and join a book club focused on personal development, business, or leadership. You'll attract people who prioritize learning. And here's the key. Go where the people you want to become already are, okay? Don't wait for them to show up in your current environments because they probably won't, right? You have to meet them in their environment. When I moved to New York City, the first thing I did when I knew I wanted to meet like some of the top people was I started to go to the fitness classes I knew they were going to every single day. I just went. No expectation. I just went to be in the environment. Principle number 4, recognize your people when you find them, right? You're putting yourself out there, you're showing up in these new spaces, but how do you know when you've actually found like your people, right? Quote unquote. And some of the signs here are that the conversations are energizing you, right? You don't leave feeling drained. You don't have to perform. You show up, you engage, and you leave feeling more alive than when you arrived. And they celebrate your growth, right? Your wins don't threaten them. Your goals don't intimidate them. When you share what you're working on, they lean in with genuine excitement. They're excited to help you grow. They might even give you advice, right? Because maybe they've been there before or they're in it with you. And you feel permission to actually be yourself, right? You're not editing yourself. You're not code switching. You're not managing their emotions or walking on eggshells. You're just existing and it feels easy. And they challenge you lovingly, right? They don't let you play small. They call you out when you're making excuses. I love when I have people who I'm with who are like, I want to challenge you on that. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. But they do it with love and not judgment. So you know that it's coming from the right place. And they want you to win. Because if they win, they want you to win too. They want to show you. And reciprocity feels natural, right? You're not the only one giving. They show up for you in the way that you show up for them. The energy flows both ways without keeping score. And they're doing their own work, okay? They're not sitting around complaining on things. They're in motion. They are working on themselves. They are building something. They are growing. And that energy is contagious. But here's some red flags, right? Red flags. Let's wave them right now, right? If you're second guessing yourself after every interaction, if you feel like you have to earn their approval, if you're constantly managing their reactions, they're not your people. You're going to need to keep looking because your people won't make you question whether you belong or not. You'll just know, right? And the fifth principle is pushing through the discomfort and of starting over. That's really the hardest part because let's be real, putting yourself out there feels super weird and awkward, right? You're going to walk into a new space where you don't know anybody. You're going to be standing there like what do I do? And introducing yourself, making the small talk feels weird and wondering if you're saying the right thing or if you sound weird or whatever it might be. It's definitely uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for all of us, right? But if you've been out of practice for a while, it can feel pretty freaking terrifying. But you need to remember is that everyone in that room was new ones, right? Everyone felt awkward. A lot of them probably still feel awkward. Everyone wondered if they belonged. But starting over requires vulnerability. It requires showing up before you feel ready. It requires being the new person, the one who doesn't know the inside jokes, the one who has to ask questions. And that discomfort, that's the price of admission, right? And it is well worth it. So how do we push past that discomfort, right? The discomfort, the awkwardness, like all the different pieces, right? First is reminding yourself why you're even there, right? You're not there to be comfortable. You're there to grow. And discomfort is proof that you are in the right place. Second, you want to focus on giving and not getting. This is a really big one because I go to a lot of these events sometimes, especially here in Austin. Everyone wants to take from me. And I'm like, Instead of worrying about what people think of you, focus on being genuinely curious about them. I want you to ask questions, listen, and actually contribute value where you can. Give. As much as you can give. Third, show up consistently. It gets easier the more that you do it. The first time is going to feel the hardest. And 10 times you're going to feel like you're part of the group. And fourth, release the outcome. You're not going to become best friends with every single person that you meet there, right? And that's totally cool. But you're going to be planting some seeds. They're going to be in that room. Some are going to grow, some won't. Some might grow like years from now, but you just need to trust the process and just be there. The truth about starting over is that it's awkward, it is vulnerable, it is uncomfortable, and it's absolutely necessary. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a circle that actually matches who you're becoming. And that's worth every awkward introduction, right? The discomfort of starting over is just temporary. But the regret of staying stuck, that's permanent, right? So choose discomfort. Get into those rooms. I've done it so many different times. Completely rooms that I'm like, what am I even doing here? But I'm like, I want to be at this level, so I'm going to be around these people, and I'm just going to be myself. Principle number 6, be the energy that you want to attract, right? The secret to finding your people is that you don't find them by hiding, right? You find them by showing up as the version of yourself that you are becoming unapologetically, authentically, and fully. It's that law of attraction. The real one. You attract who you are, not who you want. If you show up really guarded, you're going to probably attract the guarded people. If you show up insecure, you're probably going to attract more insecure people. If you show up confident, though, vulnerable, growth-oriented, and authentic, you're going to attract people who match that energy. And this is what that looks like in practice, right? I want you to share your real goals, like not a watered down version, like go like full Delulu mode, like Delulu goals, right? Talk about what you're working on, even if it feels like really big and ambitious and crazy, and set boundaries early. Like don't shrink to fit in. Be honest about where you're at. Most of these people who are at the level of success that you're wanting to talk to, like they have been there. Like be honest with your struggles, be vulnerable. That really is going to attract that depth that you're looking for. Because when you stop pretending to be someone that you're not, you're going to become magnetic because people are craving right now. They're craving realness, right? They're tired of this like surface level connection. They want someone who's willing to go deep. So be that person and watch how quickly your people start to show up. You do not find your people by hiding, right? You do not find your people by hiding who you're becoming. You find them by being her out loud, just being unapologetically her. And before you go to these events, just like shake it out and be like, I'm just going to do it. Just do it. And the seventh principle, give yourself permission to build slowly, right? I'm going to give you permission for something. Your new circle does not need to form overnight, okay? So don't put that pressure on there, okay? You're allowed to be in transition. You're allowed to have a smaller social calendar right now. You're allowed to be building while others are maintaining. Because the reality of this transition is there is going to be a season, maybe even a few months or even a year, where you feel like you're like in this weird limbo, where you feel like you're in the hallway in between, again, as we call it, where you've outgrown the old circle, but you haven't fully found the new one just yet. And that season does feel really lonely, right? It feels isolating. It feels like maybe you made a mistake, but you didn't. You're just in the messy middle, right? And that's where growth happens, right? In that hallway in between. The messy middle is where transformation truly happens, right? So we want you to be able to move through that without staying stagnant, without stalling. So what you do in that meantime is you lean on that digital circle, right? Those books, those podcasts, those online communities, they'll carry you through until that in-person connection really solidifies. And really focus on yourself, okay? At the end of the day, you spend the most time with, guess what? Yourself. Use this season to work on your goals, to build your confidence, to invest in your growth. The clearer you become, the easier it is to attract aligned people. And you got to trust the timing. The right people will show up when you are ready for them, okay? I promise. Not before, not after, but literally right on time. Anything worth having is going to take time. Your career didn't happen overnight, right? Your goals won't happen overnight, and your circle's not going to either. You don't need 50 friends, right? You need a few people who truly see you and a curated digital circle that feeds your mind. And a small aligned circle will take you further than a large misaligned one will, right? So choose that depth over anything. Give it time. Keep showing up. Keep being intentional. And trust that the right people are already on their way. Your circle is forming right now, even if you can't see it yet. Trust the process and stay the course. I've been really good at making some pretty good circles and really getting some great connections. And it does take time, but it's so worth it. You're going to meet such cool people. But let's bring this all together, okay? I want to just do a quick recap on these 7 principles for building your circle on purpose, right? The principle number 1, redefine what your circle actually even means. And again, it's not just the people in your living room, it's every voice you let into your head. Principle number 2, audit your inputs. Like your life depends on it, okay? If it doesn't lift you up, you got to cut it. Principle number 3, go where your future self already is. That means classes, workshops, gyms, masterminds, conferences, book clubs, volunteer work. Principle number 4, Recognize your people when you find them. Conversations that energize you, that celebrate your growth. You feel permission to be yourself. They challenge you lovingly. The reciprocity feels natural, and they're doing their own work. So important. Principle number 5, push through the discomfort of starting over. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, but let me tell you something, it is so worth it. Principle number 6, be the energy you want to attract. So show up as who you're becoming, not who you used to be. This authenticity, like that is the magic here. Principle number 7, give yourself permission to build slowly. Your circle doesn't form overnight, so trust the timing. Because the truth is, and what I want you to walk away right now, is that you're not starting from scratch, okay? You're already building your circle right now by listening to this podcast, by choosing growth-oriented content, by showing up for yourself. And your people, they are out there, okay? They're looking for you just as much as you are looking for them. And the more that you show up as the version of yourself that you are becoming, the faster they will find you. So keep going. Keep showing up. Keep being intentional because the right people are already on their way. And if this episode helped you, share it with someone who is also navigating this season, right? Leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more people, more high achievers, right? Find this show when they need it the most. And that is why I do this. I do this so that I can impact one person that hopefully leads to another person, and really helps them step into their next level. But until next time, keep building, keep growing, keep trusting that your people are coming. And what if it all goes right? What if it's already going right?